welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. I'm Vanessa, this is Nessa CX Beauty, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my entire eyeshadow collection, which is right behind me. They're separated by brand, but also they add up to 135 eyeshadow palettes. So I wanted to make this video, one, to obviously show you guys my collection, but to two, hold myself accountable and actually use some eyeshadow palettes that I've forgotten about. And today I did use an eyeshadow palette that I did forget about, and I still love it. But yeah, this is basically for you guys and for myself. So I'm gonna stop talking because this might be a long video because I am sharing 135 eyeshadow palettes. So if you're interested in seeing that, just continue watching. So the first brand I have chosen to show y'all is my Morphe eyeshadow palette collection, which I thought I had more Morphe eyeshadow palettes than this, but I'm perfectly fine with the amount that I have. The first four palettes are obviously the Jaclyn Hill Morphe Volt collection. When these did come out, I thought they were the most beautiful things in the world. This is the Bling Boss palette. I have used it. This is the Ring the Alarm palette, which was my least favorite palette out of the collection. This was Armed and Gorgeous, which was my probably like third favorite out of all of these. I did remember liking the darker ones more. And this is the Dark Magic eyeshadow palette, which was my second favorite out of all of these. Next up is the 15N palette, and this did come in BoxyCharm. I did use it once and never again. I did not like this palette. I probably should declutter it. Next up is the Morphe X Jeffree Star palette. I did love this palette. There are a lot of people who didn't, but I definitely think that this palette is beautiful, and I did give one away in a giveaway, so I do appreciate this palette. Next up is the 25L Live in Color. This one I freaking adore. It reminded me so much of the James Charles palette, but without all of the neutrals, and I think it's a good buy. And then all the proceeds did go to the Trevor project, so this one was an amazing release. Next up is the 35B. This one is discontinued, and it is also so freaking beautiful. I do not know why they discontinued this, but here's her. Next up is the Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 collection with Morphe. I hated Volume 1 and I gave that palette away to my friend Crystal Ryan, but I did pick up Volume 2 and I do love this palette way more than I liked the first volume. Next up is the 35M Boss Mood palette. This palette was really popular when it came out, and I tried it a first time and I hated it. I tried it a second time and it was okay. And now I'm just like kind of over it. The shimmers are not that amazing in this palette, even though the mattes are. And for the time that it came out, I guess it was a good palette, but comparatively to the new palettes that have been coming out, I don't think Boss Mood quite compares. And the last Morphe eyeshadow palette that I have to share is the James Charles palette. And this palette is my favorite, not because of the formula, but because of the colors. I bring this palette everywhere, no matter where I go. Like when I go to California, I bring this. When I go to Texas, I bring this because it has so many options, and it has options for the face. I just think it's an amazing travel palette. People don't want to bring it traveling because it is huge, but this is my go-to travel palette. And that was my Morphe collection. Next up is my Juvia's Place collection. This one is the Berries by Juvia's Place. I do have this on my lower lash line. This one is the Violets by Juvia's Place, and it is beautiful with these gray tone purples. And I did receive both of these in the Trend Mood box. Next up is the Saharan. Definitely still a gorgeous palette. I don't really have much use to this one, but I do want to dig into my Juvia's Place palette. But I do want to dig into my Juvia's Place collection even more. This one is the Zulu by Juvia's Place, and I dug into this one once, but I definitely do want to dig into it more because I've seen multiple beautiful eye looks with this palette, and I don't know why I haven't used it as often as I thought I would when I bought it. This one is the Nubian 2. It is definitely my favorite eyeshadow palette out of all of these Juvia's Place eyeshadow palettes because the colors are so gorgeous. I did a few looks with this back in the day when I did purchase it, and this one's an oldie but a goodie. Next one is the Magic palette. The color story drew me in. I barely use it though. This is making me feel terrible about myself. The next eyeshadow palette is the Masquerade palette. I did use it when I first got it, but then I stopped gravitating towards it. I don't know why, but this is the last of my Juvia's Place collection. So that was my Juvia's Place collection. My next collection is my Glamlight collection. I am an affiliate with Glamlight, so you can always use my code NESSAC for 15% off, but I do not hold it against you if you do not use my code, because I do receive a little bit of commission whenever you do use my code. So the first palette is the Burger palette. It is very iconic, very beautiful, very big. I wouldn't recommend traveling with it. However, this shade disappointed the hell out of me. I don't know what is up with it. It spreads oil like crazy. Luckily, it didn't really affect the other shades in this palette. The concept of this palette is beautiful, and I really do like keeping my palettes in mint condition, so this really bothers me. The next one is the iconic Pizza palette that Jeffree Star kind of made popular, and this is it. It is technically almost all mattes, I believe. There's like 2 shimmers in here, but it's a beautiful matte palette. I wouldn't travel with this one either, but the concept is awesome. The next palette is the Cake palette, and this was actually the first eyeshadow palette that I received from Glamlight in PR. I don't think I'm on their PR list anymore. I don't know why, but I am grateful that they did send me this eyeshadow palette when it did release, and I do think it is stunning. The next palette is the Paint palette, and this has to take the cake in terms of packaging. It's gorgeous, it's stunning. It has like the thumbprint for you. It came with a brush. It's gorgeous. Glamlight's concepts. Glamlight kills it with their concepts. The next one is my favorite in terms of formulation. If you are looking for any eyeshadow palette from Glamlight and need a recommendation, their Taco palette. These eyeshadows are the most amazing in terms of all of their palettes. The formula in this eyeshadow palette, I will never give up the Taco palette. And then the mini pizza palettes, the pizza slice palettes. This one is the Meat Lovers, which I didn't like too much. But this one is the Veggie Lovers, and this one is stunning. So that was my Glamlight collection. The next collection I wanted to share with y'all was the Profusion Pile. And these 4 were part of one collection. And I have opinions on this collection. This one is okay. This is the Uppy Oranges. They killed it with the packaging for this. I was kind of disappointed. This one is the Yellow Fusion palette. I did not like this palette at all. This one is the Berry Bangin' Pinks, and this one was okay. And then this one was the Electric Blues. This one was my favorite out of the entire collection. If you do pick up anything from this collection, I do recommend this palette. Ooh. And then this one is the Wonderlust palette, which I did pick up in TJ Maxx when we could still go to TJ Maxx. And I do like the mattes. I don't like the shimmers in this one. Straight moving on to my Revolution palettes because I only have 2. This one is the Tasty Peach palette. I was going to do a video on this, but they lost my package when I first ordered it. So then I got this one probably like 3 weeks after I ordered it because they had to send me another one. But this is the Tasty Peach palette. And I didn't like the shimmers in this one. And then this one is the Starry Eyed palette. It's So beautiful. The packaging is like so fun to play with, and that's part of the reason why I bought this, but the shades are also pretty as well. The next collection, I guess, I only have 2 of them, is Lunar Beauty, and holy moly, the Strawberry Dream palette is what I have on my eyes today. I am in love with this palette. I regret not using it more. It is gorgeous, it is stunning, and it smells amazing. But the scent has gone away a little bit because I've had it for a while. And then this one is the Moon Spell palette. I did pick this up recently. I should have waited for the 20% off, but I did use it and it is stunningly gorgeous. I used all the purples and I fell in love with the formula yet again. Lunar Beauty has an amazing formula. Then I wanted to show y'all these little troll palettes that came in the Trend Mood box. First off, the packaging, horrible. This like plastic in front of it is like so sticky. It has like dirt on it. Like anything sticks onto it. It feels like a mat. If you've ever seen like a plastic mat, that's what this is on top here. So it causes the palettes to kind of stick to one another as well. This is the travel size palettes, and this one is in Techno. I haven't used this one. This one is Classical. I have used this one. It's okay. No opinion. I don't know. And then this one is the Funk palette, and I hated this one. It is terrible. No pigmentation. The shimmers suck. Terrible. Sorry. And again, these are my opinions. If y'all have differing opinions, that is totally fine with me. I do not judge. I'm just saying my own opinions. But those were my mini rounds of tiny collections that I have. Next up is my Jeffree Star collection, and I just dropped it all on the floor. So let's hope none of these eyeshadow palettes broke. Whew. Okay, so this is the mini Jawbreaker that came out with the Jawbreaker collection. I haven't used it, honestly. I am a collector of Jeffree Star eyeshadows, and I do like the formulas, but I have so many eyeshadow palettes that I don't use all of them, and I feel terrible about it. But that's the mini Jawbreaker. This one, oh, it hasn't broken, is the big Jawbreaker that came out with the mini Jawbreaker. This one is stunning, gorgeous, beautiful, everything you want in a rainbow palette and more. I have used this one quite a bit, especially in the summer. Next up is the first eyeshadow palette I ever bought from Jeffree Star Cosmetics, and it is the Beauty Killer palette. I have dug into this palette quite a bit in the past. I've stopped using it, but I really do want to use it more because it just reminds me of why I love makeup. Next up is the Mini Controversy palette, and I do have a video on this, and a lot of people hated the look that I did with it, but I do like this palette, so there's my opinion on that. This one is the Big Mama Conspiracy palette. Stunning, gorgeous, beautiful, everything. Shane Dawson is a genius and Jeffree Star is a genius, so I expected nothing less than greatness from this collection. Next up is the Alien palette, and I'm so sad that it's discontinued, but this palette is stunning. It is my favorite. This one is my favorite Jeffree Star palette in terms of formula. These shimmers in this one are astronomically better than every other shimmer in every collection he's ever come out with, and I don't know why, but it's gorgeous and I love it. And I do have one that is in perfect condition that I'm going to be giving away once this, pandemic is done and over with, because I do still need to do my 3,000 giveaway, but I'm holding that off until I can go outside again. So just know that this is in that giveaway. Next up is the Blue Blood palette. Oh, this one is a strong contender in terms of formula too. This one is probably the second best formula in terms of mattes and shimmers, and I definitely do love it. I don't use blue eyeshadow that much, but I constantly dig into this palette for this shade, and that's Cullinan. Next up is my least favorite palette from Jeffree Star Cosmetics to date. This is the Thirsty palette. The shimmers aren't that great. The mattes are really light. I don't know what to say. This shade right here, Lick, also has that oil problem. It's seeping through. I don't know, something about this palette is just off with me. You can't love everything, but I am keeping it because I am a collector. The next and most recent palette is the Bloodlust palette, the purple palette. This is stunning, gorgeous, beautiful. You can create many eye looks, not just purple looks with this, and I do appreciate that. There was a lot of controversy in terms of the shades, but I definitely do love this palette and the component that it came in. This is luxurious and beautiful, and I expect no less. The next one, unpopular opinion. I kind of don't want to say this about the blood sugar. Hashtag like cult favorite of everybody's life. This is my second least favorite palette after Thirsty. I don't know, something about the shimmers and the mattes just don't get me. Like, I feel like all of the shades blend into the same shade. The shimmers aren't as amazing as the Alien shimmers. Don't hate me for this, but I am keeping it because it's a collectible item. It's just not an item that I fell in love with. And that's all I'm gonna say. The only palette that I am missing from Jeffree Star's collection is Androgyny, and I do plan on getting that in the future. Next up, I'm gonna just be showing Huda Beauty Amethyst Obsessions. I don't love this palette. These shimmers, I don't know how to get them to work. The Ruby Obsessions, I've never used it. It's in perfect condition. I have not touched it. But the Sapphire Obsessions is actually pretty good. So, I don't know. I do like this one. And the next like big palette, the only big palette that I do have from Huda Beauty is the New Nudes. And I do love this palette. I use it when I'm doing like wedding makeup. I used it on my cousin for her wedding. And hopefully there's a palette like this when I get married, whenever that is. But it is a gorgeous and stunning palette and definitely worth it if you are looking into a luxury palette that you could use for like special events. Next up is an indie brand called Bombshell Cosmetic. This is their Milkshake palette. It's all shimmers. I barely use this. The scent is gone, but it used to smell really good. The next one is the Caramelized palette. I did receive this as a gift from one of my friends here on YouTube, Chrismo Beauty. It is stunning. I've only used it once, and I feel terrible about that because it was a gift, but it was really nice when I used it that first time. And then the Oh Hubba Bubba palette from Bombshell Cosmetic. This one is also pretty stunning. The only thing I have to say about this palette is that the color story just doesn't make sense to me. I do have to pull from other palettes to make looks with this eyeshadow palette. And this one was also gifted to me from Chrismo. Next up is Peachy Queen Cosmetics. This is the I'll Be There For You palette. It's Friends themed and I had to get it. It took forever to get to me though. That's the one thing I'll say about Peachy Queen. They take forever to ship anything. I ordered my Sriracha palette. They have a new palette called the Spicy Sriracha palette. And I ordered it like 2 weeks ago, I want to say. Still not here. But this one took like a month for it to get to me. So that's all I'm going to say on that. But their formula is really nice. I do love the concept of this palette. And I definitely am keeping this one. Next one is the 90s Babies, which is one of her more popular palettes. But the one thing I will say about this palette is also, like, in terms of color story, I don't really have a full look with this one. So I do pull from other palettes when I use this one. But the shimmers are insane. Like, insane. Her shimmers are literally insane. I don't know what to say. Really good formulation, but takes forever to ship. Next up is Glf Cosmetics. I do have their Princesa Azteca palette. This was one of the first videos I ever made on YouTube, and I'm super happy about it because this palette ended up getting like 1,000 views. My third video that I ever made on YouTube, and I fell in love with this palette and I fell in love with this brand. This palette is stunning, beautiful, gorgeous, and amazing in terms of quality. The next up is the Princesa Azteca 2 from Glf Cosmetics. and this one is more neon based, and it is still also stunning and gorgeous. But I do recommend version 1 over version 2 because it is way more usable. Next up is my Natasha Denona collection. I only have 2 palettes from Natasha Denona, and the first one is the which one is this one? Sunset palette. They also have this one shade, throws out so much oil. I don't understand it. But this is the Sunset palette. It is beautiful, but I can't justify the price, which is why I haven't bought in any other like huge $100 palettes from her. But I did buy the Natasha Denona Love palette, which like was $65, and the shimmers in this suck. That's all I'm gonna say. They're too hyped. But next. Okay, so next up is Jaded Cosmetics, and I do have a lot of palettes from this brand. I have all of the palettes from this brand. I am an affiliate and I am on the PR list, so that's why I have all of them. But you can use code NECESSY10 for 20% off of your purchase on anything on Jaded Cosmetics. So I'm gonna show y'all these palettes, and I'm gonna tell y'all what I feel about them. So this one is the Ain't No Rest for the Wicked palette. I adore this palette, and I'm so sad that it's not available anymore. So you can't pick this up, but it is stunning, gorgeous, 9-pan, grungy, beautiful. I don't know. I'm sorry. The next palettes are all quads. These are from their coffee collection, and they are gorgeous. This one is the pumpkin spice one. Ooh, this one is the decaf chocolate raspberry palette. I haven't used this one too much. This one is the caramel cappuccino, and it's all glitters, and their glitter formulation is bomb, so I do recommend these. There's a lot of palettes with glitters that I do not recommend, and no, but these glitters are awesome. And then this one is my favorite one out of all of the ones from the coffee palette. This one's the green tea macchiato. So beautiful. This whole entire collection was really thought out well. Next up is the Temptation palette, and I did do a video with this one, and it was like a collab video with Ivory Cherry here on YouTube, and this palette is gorgeous. It has all of your neutrals on one side and then like your pops of colors. So I used all the neutrals, and Ivory Cherry used all the pops of colors in our collab. Gorgeous. This one is La Dulce Vida, and this one, I believe the CEO came out for her birthday, and at the time when this came out, I thought it was like the best thing ever, but obviously it's been a while and there are way more better palettes. It's not to say that this one's not good, but her formula has increased in terms of formulation, so that's all I'm saying. This one's good, but it's not as great as the next one I'm gonna show y'all. This one has to be like one of my top 3 palettes from Jaded Cosmetics. She did revamp the packaging, so it's no longer this, but yes, this color story is everything. The formula is everything. The shimmers are amazing. The mattes are amazing. This palette, yes. Yes. The next one is the Lemonade palette, and I did compare this to the Aha Honey palette from ColourPop, and I love this palette. I always look for yellows, and this one is just like everything I need in the yellow palette and more. So I love this one. The Honeycomb palette. This one is no longer available, and it was my favorite for a long time, but this is the Honeycomb palette. I have used it a lot. It's loved, and it's not available anymore, but the shimmers and the mattes are amazing. The color story is bomb to me, and it's just an overall amazing palette, and I do love it. The next one is the Smoky Glow palette. This one is gorgeous, stunning. Smoky Glow, congratulations. It's an amazing palette. It feels quality. It is very good quality. And the Nutty shade is my favorite shade out of every shade I probably own in my collection. And it's just a color story that I am very drawn to. I'm very drawn to pinks and purples and light inner corner shades. So this one is like my life in a palette. The next one I did use recently for a TikTok, and my love for it grew again. Oh my god, my mirror broke. Must have been when I dropped it. Damn. Oh, that makes me so sad. I dropped it. I dropped a lot of things doing this, but I dropped this one and the mirror broke. But this is the Flower Bomb palette, and it is coming back in stock. It is super stunning and gorgeous, and it came out last spring, and it's about to be in stock for this spring, so gorgeous. And she did revamp the packaging for this one as well. The next eyeshadow palette is the Love is Love palette, and this one is stunning in terms of the fact that it's a rainbow palette and it's a really good quality shimmer and matte palette. And a lot of the proceeds for this one went to the Trevor project as well when it came out, so it is very beautiful, but you can't find it on the website anymore because I think it was limited edition as well. This one you can't find at all anywhere, because this one is the Resurrection palette, the first eyeshadow palette that was ever released from Midas Cosmetics, but this one was released when they were called Cult Cosmetics. So some of the palettes say Cult Cosmetics and some of them say Midas Cosmetics on them. But I love this when it came out. It's just not my cup of tea anymore, but I will keep this in my collection forever because Midas Cosmetics was the first brand to ever give me a shot, ever give me a code, ever put me on their PR list. So I am keeping this for sentimental reasons. And it's not terrible, but it's not like my cup of tea anymore. I do use it as a face palette more often than an eyeshadow palette. But that was my entire Midas Cosmetic collection. Next up is my ColourPop collection, and I am very picky when it comes to picking up ColourPop eyeshadow palettes. So I don't have like a huge ColourPop collection like everybody else in the world. But this is the X's and O's palette, and I freaking adore this palette. It is gorgeous. I adore a lot of ColourPop eyeshadow palettes, the ones that I pick up at least. And I love this one for like everyday use or for like a date night. Beautiful. The You're a Cutie palette, I picked it up because I thought the shimmers were really pretty and I didn't realize that the mattes were too light for me. But if you are darker than me, you probably will not like this palette. But the shimmers are really beautiful. The next one is the Honey palette, and I never want to use this glitter ever again. This ColourPop glitter formula is not bomb. Like Hip Dot and Midas Cosmetics has really good glitter formula, but for some reason ColourPop does not, and I'm not rolling behind this shade. But this palette was not terrible, it's not bad. I just prefer the Midas one over this one. The next one I'm obsessed with. This one is the Just My Luck palette. Oh, and just for this shade alone, I think this palette is worth it. This shade was my favorite shade for like all of last year. I had it in my inner corner all year last year. So that is the Just My Luck palette. Definitely recommend that one. Next eyeshadow palette is the Mint to Be palette. I did pick this up for the shimmers, and I definitely do love the shimmers. I'm not so fond of the mattes. The only two mattes that I'm pretty fond of are Ice Cold and Chill Factor, which are the two darkest ones. But the other ones, not my cup of tea. The shimmers are bomb though. The next one, it's probably my favorite in terms of 9-pan shadows, is the Smoke Show palette. I believe they renamed this one. It's no longer the Smoke Show palette, but it's still the same eyeshadows in it. Hallelujah. I needed this eyeshadow palette in my life, and they did not disappoint. This is gorgeous. If you're gonna do like a red carpet event, I would definitely use this eyeshadow palette. And I don't know, I'm obsessed. And like the Young Love eyeshadow palette is gorgeous. Usually like white eyeshadows are terrible, but this one, stunning. Next one is the Rendezvous palette, and this one is the first ever eyeshadow palette I picked up from ColourPop Cosmetics, and I fell in love with it automatically. These shimmers are bomb, the mattes are bomb. I love this palette, and I do have it in a giveaway whenever, you know, we're back to normal. The next one is the Misunderstood palette, and I did pick this one up over the Princesses palette because I was drawn to the color story. Look at that holographic. Oh, gorgeous. I love this eyeshadow palette. These shimmers are amazing. The mattes are amazing. this one is bomb. The next one is the So Jaded palette with Kathleen Lights. I love Kathleen Lights so much. So much. And I love this palette even though it has glitters in it. I've never used the glitters, as you guys can see, but this palette definitely highly recommend. I believe it was like one of their first big palettes and they hit the nail on the head with this one. But that was my entire ColourPop collection. Next up, I did want to introduce my Rio Cosmetics palettes. This one is the Pyro palette, and I definitely do love the formulation of it. And I can't say any more good things. Like, the packaging is so addicting. It's gorgeous. And Rachel Levin from RCL Beauty 101 here on YouTube created this brand. And it got a lot of hate, but I love it. So just pick your poison. I love it. And then this one is the In the Rough palette. And it's my favorite out of the two that she came out with. It's definitely my cup of tea in terms of color story. And this shade is everything and more you would ever need in your life. I definitely want you guys to see how gorgeous that shade is. For this shade alone, next up is Hip Dot. And I am counting this one in the Hip Dot because it was like a Hip Dot Kesha brand kind of thing. So this one is the Ftw Eyeshadow Palette from Kesha. The packaging is not that like comfortable, but these shades are amazing. This is what I'm talking about, Hip Dot glitter formula. The glitter formula from Hip Dot is so amazing. It's like a crazy type of shimmer formula, but I definitely recommend Hip Dot eyeshadow palettes and have no problems with their glitter formula. This one. The Opulence palette. I love the packaging of this palette. Like, packaging gets me, but look at what it does. All of their classic palettes does this because they want it to be able to stand on your desk while you're using it and like create like a little vanity for yourself, which I think is very nice. But these shadows are amazing. I definitely recommend anything from Hip Dot, literally anything. Next one is the Rio palette. I've only used this once, I think, but I definitely was attracted to it when I bought it. I haven't used it a lot. I don't know why, but the formula is still good, and it does have, you know, the nice packaging, the little vanity set. You definitely get your bang for the buck with this. And this one, the SpongeBob X Hip Dot palette. The packaging is so dope. You get the little vanity. The shades are so amazing, and I've created some of my favorite looks with this palette, and it was the first Hip Dot palette I ever actually used, so I'm really happy with my purchase on this one. I am an affiliate with Hip Dot as well. I forgot my code, but it will be down in the description box if you do want money off of your Hip Dot purchase. I think it's Nessa C10, but verify down below. Next up is BH Cosmetics. This is the Take Me Back to Brazil palette, the OG, and I picked it up because I was feeling FOMO and everybody was loving it, but these pans are tiny. They're like dime sized and the shimmers aren't that great. The mattes are fine, but like I don't think it deserved the hype that it got. I prefer this one, and this one didn't get hype. It's the Smitten in Switzerland palette from their travel series from BH Cosmetics, and it is gorgeous. This color scheme is just stunning, amazing, beautiful. What? No, the formula, everything about it is just like amazing about this palette. Like the Smitten in Switzerland, I definitely recommend this eyeshadow palette. Next up is Anastasia and ABH. I'm putting these together because they're under the same brand, but this one is my favorite out of all of them. For Anastasia, Beverly Hills, this is the Soft Glam Cosmetics. It's a classic. I love it. It's stunning, gorgeous, and I haven't gotten it dirty, so I'm really happy about that. This one is the Riviera palette. I did pick it up because I saw it at TJ Maxx, so I'm really happy that I did get this palette because the shimmers are bomb in this palette, and that shouldn't have been in there, but the shimmers are amazing in this palette, and I definitely appreciate that I got it for like 20 bucks. Next up is the Alyssa Richards palette. I don't know why these brushes are in here. They should be with the other brushes, but the Alyssa Edwards palette. I love all the mattes in this, and I did win this from a giveaway from Ivory Cherry here on YouTube. Thank you very much, girl. I very much appreciated it. And then this one I got on sale. This one was the Jaclyn palette. Last time we had 20% off. I did purchase it because I felt FOMO with this one, and it is stunning, gorgeous for like people of my complexion and darker, so I definitely love that palette. Next up is ABH Noir Vina. I only did pick up the 3 huge ones. I didn't pick up the other ones. And the first one, I hated this one. I'm trying to get used to it, but it doesn't show up on my eyes. Ow! How the pan shows, and like I don't like the shimmers in this one. I don't know. The first one really caught me off guard and I didn't like it, but the completionist in me had to buy the second and third one. So this is the second one. I have used it once in my life and never again. I don't even remember what I felt about it, but for some reason I am in love with the third one. This one is amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. I don't understand why the other 2 just didn't like work out for me. This one is so good. It shows up true to color. The shimmers are actually nice. The mattes are beautiful. I recommend the third one if you want any of these 3. Next up is my Wet n Wild collection. This one is a little eyeshadow trio. I think it's Walking on Eggshells, and I will never get rid of it ever. It's in the classic packaging. You know it's old. This one is the Pac-Man eyeshadow palette. It's what's it called? Pressed Pigments? Yeah, Pressed Pigment eyeshadow palette. It's gorgeous. I did break it, I think, today. I have broken many of my eyeshadow palettes today because I keep dropping them for this collection video, but I definitely loved this one and recommend this one a lot. Except it's broken. Next up is this one's Comfort Zone. Oh my god, Comfort Zone. I will never get rid of. I used to love these things. I usually keep these just for like the sentimental value of them. Next up is the Comfort Zone Revamped, the Rose in the Air Revamped, and the Not a Basic Peach. So these aren't that amazing. Like, they'll go on nice, but throughout the day they will, you know, disappear. So that's how I feel about these. The next one was from the Crystal collection. Ooh, I didn't like 2 out of the 3 shades, but this shade definitely made this tiny palette worth it. This is the Jade. Next up is the most up-to-date eyeshadow palette. This one is the Wet n Wild times Bretman Rock palette, and it's gorgeous, it's stunning, and I definitely do love it. I did give it away. I still have the package here because I picked my winner, but then the like stuff started happening, so I haven't gone to the shipping people yet, but I will right after they allow me to, you know, leave my house. I haven't left my house in like a month and I think I'm going crazy, but that package will be sent off soon, and this palette is stunning, gorgeous. Recommend it highly. Next up is my Violet Voss collection. I only have 2 eyeshadow palettes from them. The Essentials eyeshadow palette collection, which I've only used once. Their eyeshadow formula is okay. It's not the best, but I keep it anyway. I don't know why. And then this one's the Violet Voss Pro eyeshadow palette, and it's like, I think the Holy Grails palette, and these are not my holy grails. That's all I'm gonna say. even though like the formula's fine. I don't know, I barely use these. I forgot that I had them. Next up is my Misc pile. So these are all eyeshadow palettes that I only have 1 of from each brand, so we're gonna get right into that. So straight into my Misc pile, I have the Kat Von D Amethyst palette, and I use this as a highlighter, not as an eyeshadow palette, and I believe you can still find it on Sephora. I don't know, but I found it at TJ Maxx for like $4. So the next eyeshadow palette is the Storybook Cosmetics Fairy Tales Little Brer Rose book, And this is the color story. This is the bulky packaging. And I hate the formula. I currently have this palette up for sale on Mercari and on Poshmark. I can't get rid of it. I'm trying to sell it. I might give it away to my little cousin if it doesn't sell. So I hate this palette. Next up is the Caramel Melange palette from Zoeva. I did try this for my BoxyCharm unboxing. I thought it would be better than it was because the shades look like shades that I would put on my lips. They look like lipstick shades to me. And, you know, it just didn't work out for me. Like, the shimmers aren't that great. The mattes aren't that great. I would definitely give this to someone who has, like, a beginner kind of eyeshadow palette. But this, no. Next up is the Revlon X Ashley Graham Tropical Vibes eyeshadow palette. This is dope. It's dope. I would definitely use this on vacation or like for a little date night in the summer. We've been sleeping on Revlon, y'all. Their formula has gotten better. The next one has very much of a sentimental value for me. It is the Alma Cosmetics palette, the Reina de Caribe palette. Caribe. I did join BoxyCharm just for this palette, and I have been with BoxyCharm for the past year because of this palette. So this one has sentimental value for me. The shimmers are dope. The mattes are dope. Alma Cosmetics eyeshadow formula, on point. Ooh, this one is the Dose of Colors Blush and Berries. I did get this in, my BoxyCharm, and it doesn't have shimmers in it, which is the only thing I hate, but the mattes in here are really nice. The next one actually came from BoxyCharm as well. It introduced me to this brand, and I love this eyeshadow palette. I love it, especially for this shade right here, Crimson. This eyeshadow shade, everything. The look that I made with this eyeshadow palette is one of my favorites that I've ever done. And thank you, BoxyCharm, for introducing me to Ace Beauty. The next one is the Tarte Pro Remix palette, and I hate Tarte. I hate them in terms of like eyeshadow formula, but this palette has really nice eyeshadow formula, and it did come in my BoxyCharm. It smells amazing, but the reason why I kept this one and actually gave it a try was for these shades right here, the silvers and the grays, and it actually was dope. This one is the Miss Fame Under My Skin palette. I received this in, I forget what box, but I hated it. This palette is terrible. Terrible. I want to get rid of this palette. Next up is the Dose of... Oh, I do have 2 Dose of Colors eyeshadow palettes, but it's okay. This is the Friendcation palette that my friend here on YouTube, Crystal Ryan, gave me when we were each other's Valentines last year. And this one has a lot of sentimental value for me. It's gorgeous, beautiful, stunning packaging. It has beautiful shimmers and mattes. And it's basically a classic and a staple in a lot of people's collections. So I'm very happy that Crystal got me this one for Valentine's Day last year. The next one is the Ocean Awakening eyeshadow palette from Ibby. I've used this once. I got this from an Ipsy event, Ipsy creator event. I don't really love the formula at all. I should probably get rid of it. The next eyeshadow palette is the Mojito palette from the Beauty Crop. Oh, this eyeshadow like story just like caught my attention ASAP. I bought it. I loved it. I was gonna do a video on it and I never did, but the formula is bomb. The next eyeshadow palette is the Uoma Black Carnival palette. I did do a video on this recently, and the shimmers in this brand are dope. I freaking love them. The mattes are amazing. I can't say anything negative about this. It's just pretty pricey, but their formula is dope. The next palette is the Alma palette. Oh, it's broken. The Alma palette from Amy Hearts Beauty, and it's in collaboration with Amy Loves Makeup, but I believe it's no longer in, you know, you can't get this anymore, and there's a lot of like stories behind it, but it's a beautiful palette nonetheless, and it was made with love when it was made, so that's all I'm gonna say on that one. The next eyeshadow palette is the Protege palette from Suva Beauty. This is her I hated the shimmers, but I did like the mattes. The highlighters were fine, but it's not my favorite, not my least favorite in terms of formulation. Next up is Bad Habit. You can't get any Bad Habit anymore. They are out for the count. Like, they don't exist anymore, so I'm happy that I got this one. This one was supposed to be a dupe for, I believe, the Prism palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills, which I don't have. So I did get the Bad Habit one, and this one is Aura, and I freaking love it. Next one is the Tati Beauty palette. So this one is volume 1. It is stunning, gorgeous, beautiful. The only critique I have for this one is that if you remove this row, this third row right here, I think the palette would have, you know, been as good as it is. Because I feel like the mattes and the satins kind of come off the same. So you're basically getting 2 rows of mattes. So if you just got rid of the satins and just kept this one, and this one, the shimmer, the glitter, and the mattes, I think it would have been a really nice palette nonetheless, and probably would have costed less money too. The next eyeshadow palette is my Sippin' Pretty eyeshadow palette from Kylie Cosmetics. It's the only eyeshadow palette I have from Kylie Cosmetics, and because I freaking loved this when I first used it, but when you try wearing it throughout the day, it starts disappearing, so that's the only thing I'll say on that. The next eyeshadow palette is the Crown Fuego eyeshadow palette, I think. I don't know. It doesn't have the name on it, but I love this when I got it. I'm keeping it. It came from BoxyCharm, but that is that. The next eyeshadow palette is the Kristen Dominique Celestial Thunder palette, and this one was in collaboration with BoxyCharm, which is why it's not the full palette. I did like it when I got it, but for some reason the shimmers from Kristen Dominique aren't the most amazing shimmers. Her mattes are phenomenal though. The next eyeshadow palette I have here is the Paulina palette. Congratulations, Paulina. But the sad thing about this is that Blush Tribe is going out of business, so you can't really get eyeshadow palettes from them anymore. I believe they only have one in stock, and they're not restocking ever again. But the Paulina palette was very loved, and I kind of wish that I had the chance to buy more Blush Tribe now that they're going out of like business. It's so sad, but I'm lucky to have gotten at least one. The next eyeshadow palette is the Endless Possibilities palette from Folklore. I did receive this in PR. It's okay. It's like a good beginner palette. It has a lot of colors. The shimmers are okay. The mattes are okay. That's all I'm gonna say on this one. Next one is the Neptune palette from Beauty Glazed, and this one was supposed to be a dupe for the Huda Beauty palette, and I was gonna do a dupe video, but I never got around to it, so that's the one thing. The next eyeshadow palette is from Elijah Storm Cosmetics. It's the Iconic palette, and I loved this when it came out. The mattes are super pigmented, the shimmers are amazing, and I believe it's still on sale, but it's nice. Next eyeshadow palette is the Wander Beauty Wanderous palette. These shimmers are so nice, and it's mostly shimmers, so I do appreciate this palette. The next eyeshadow palette I received from BeautyCon as their like sorry thing from like the Cardi B incident that happened last year. But this is the Ramble Eyes Wow Edition eyeshadow palette. I've only used it once. I don't think I like it. I've never used it after that one time, so I should declutter that one. This one was like my first giveaway. This is the e.l.f. Opposites Attract palette, and I still stand by it today. It is gorgeous. The mattes are freaking amazing. You can create so many awesome dark grungy looks with this. I do appreciate this palette, and it was my first giveaway ever on my channel, so it has sentimental value as well. And then I do have 2 Sephora collection eyeshadow palettes. The I Love palette, because it came with all of these like nice primary colors, and London Marshall did recommend it to me, so I did buy it, and it is really nice, but it's all matte. And then the reason why I still have this one, this is the Sephora Primal Instincts palette. It is the first eyeshadow palette that I ever bought in my life. Look at this beat and abused eyeshadow palette. Like, I look at this palette and I can't help but smile, because it introduced me to like the love of my life, which is makeup, and I'm gonna cry because of it. But I don't know. Whenever I look at it, I think of like how happy and beautiful like my life became after, you know, purchasing something like this. Yeah. But the last eyeshadow palette I wanted to share with you guys was the Star Wars Pat McGrath palette. I did receive this as a gift from my brother, so thank you, Chris, for getting this for me. It is a beautiful, stunning eyeshadow palette. I cannot believe that I have it in my possession, but I am keeping this forever in my life, and it's a pretty hefty price point, so I'm so happy to have this one Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette in my collection, because I do love Star Wars. For those of you who guys do know me personally, I am obsessed. I remember when I was in college, my friends that I lived with gave me like a Star Wars themed birthday party, and it was just really awesome. But that is my entire eyeshadow palette collection, 135 eyeshadow palettes that I just showed to you guys, and I am waiting for 3 eyeshadow palettes. So 135, 136, 137, 138. So I'll have 138 by like next week. I'm waiting for the Sriracha palette from Peachy Cosmetics, and I'm waiting for the 2 cutie palettes that just came out, the Metropolitan and the how do you say it? I don't know. The Prism palette? I don't know. The 2 cuties that came out from Noir Cosmetics, I'm waiting for those. So I'm waiting for 3 palettes, and I should probably stop buying eyeshadow palettes because I realized that I haven't used a lot of the ones that I've loved in a while. But if you did see a palette that you're interested, please let me know so I can use it in a video or something. I don't know. 135 eyeshadow palettes, and I can't put them all on my 2 eyes. So I know y'all know the struggle for you guys that collect makeup. But that's all I wanted to do today. Have a great day or night wherever you are in the world, and I hope to see you soon. And I hope if you're new, you plan on subscribing, and I hope to see you soon as well. So have a good day.